Hello, my friends. I'm excited to give you guys my feedback so far on my 2022 GasGas EC 300. Over the last few days, I've had the chance to really put it to the test in all sorts of terrain and really get a feel for the bike. I'm going to start with the engine characteristics and the handling, and then I'm going to go into some little details at the end. So right away, I noticed that this bike is a completely different beast compared to my old TE 300. It revs up more quickly, which almost made me feel like the gears were shorter, which they're not, but it felt really different. So although I wouldn't say this bike has more power than my TE, the power delivery is definitely different. It's not super torquey, but it likes to rev up quickly. It's a zippy bike, but not zippy in a way that it's hard to hold on to. It's an absolute blast to ride in the flowy single track and out on the corner track. I did feel like I needed to clutch a little bit more in order to ride a gear high like I like to do, but it handled really well, and it felt surprisingly planted in the corners for a 300 two-stroke. Something else I noticed right away and had been warned about was that the front brakes were a little bit lacking compared to the Brembo brakes that I'm used to. The brakes on the EC 300 are made by a company called BrakeTech, and I guess they're not known for being the best. I did purchase a whole Brembo front brake assembly for this bike because touchy front brakes are really important to me, but I haven't installed it yet. I wanted to give the stock ones a chance. So I did about 26 miles on this tiny corner track and really gave the new pads and rotors a chance to get hot and wear in. They definitely got way better after breaking them in, of course, and I almost want to say I'm happy with them the way they are. They are still a little bit less touchy than the Brembos, but one place where that benefited me was in the rutted corners. They were more forgiving when I was using the front brakes a little bit to keep the front wheel in the rut. They do grab when you need them to, you just have to pull the lever in more than you would on a good set of Brembos. Now let's talk about the gnarly stuff. As soon as I got into some of the more technical terrain, I noticed that the bike doesn't lug nearly as well as my carbureted TE 300. That lighter flywheel rears its ugly head in the technical stuff for sure. First gear is very twitchy and spinny, but it didn't seem to have the torque I wanted in order to pull second on the longer rocky climbs. It just wanted to stall. I kind of found myself struggling more than a few times to find a happy medium between spinning in the rocks or stalling, which isn't something I usually struggle with very much. So I'll have to say, so far, it's definitely not as good in the extreme terrain as my TE 300 was. And this is going to be something that I'll have to work on getting resolved because I do spend most of my time in the extreme enduro terrain. These next couple of things probably fall under the category of nitpicking, but I think they're still worth mentioning. The back brake lever is extremely close to the clutch cover, so close that I can't actually have it adjusted as high as I want it without it hitting on the clutch cover. So until I bend it outwards or something like that, I've been running the brake pedal lower than I'd like. The other thing that bothered me was the way the expansion chamber mounts. They've gone away from those flexible mounts with the rubber piece, and now it mounts straight to the frame in two places with a 10mm bolt. The problem is that as soon as you bend your pipe, even the slightest amount, it's really tough to get the mounts to line up again once you've taken it off. Again, minor details, but just something that I noticed when I had my pipe off to do some work. Lastly, I noticed that this bike doesn't have a very good place to grab, especially if you're not very tall. I've installed an aftermarket tugger strap on the rear fender, which helps, but I definitely don't have as much strength when I'm grabbing from this high up. I'm already really missing the grab handle with the subframe that was on my TE. To sum this all up, this bike runs beautifully and it's tons of fun to ride in the flowy stuff. I enjoyed the way it handled in the corners and was surprised at how planted it felt. I can't offer any input specifically on the stock suspension because my suspension has been modified already. In my humble opinion, this bike does need some modifications to be an excellent hard enduro bike, but I think I can get it there. I think the problem lies in the lighter flywheel. Because of this flywheel, the bike doesn't lug as well as it could, and it revs up faster than I'd like it to. Both of these things equate to constant shifting and a difficulty moderating wheel spin. I'll keep you guys in the loop with any of the modifications I do very soon. Thank you all for watching, and please consider ordering your parts or gear through my Rocky Mountain link if you'd like to support my channel.